What's going on, everyone? Juice Bags here, and welcome back to the grand finale of the Q&A with Chromatic from the month of May. So I am here with Augie, Phil, and Andrew, and we got lots of questions to ask you all today. But how's it going?
Oh, pretty good. It's Friday, so doing this a day later than we did the last couple weeks. So definitely looking forward to the weekend.
Fridays are always nice. So, all right, starting right off, number one. Now, this one, it kind of was like the growing snowball among the avalanche over the final week. And that was people like the thought of seeing like their teammate health bars like under their health bar, kind of like maybe DD2 style, or, you guys know what I mean, familiar with several other games. Go into the options menu to see where your teammates are, and then, of course, the health bars are not visible there. People kind of would like to see that, and, it got brought up so much that I felt like I had to mention it. Not so much as, obviously a question, but something that players would really, really like to see for co-op in Dungeon Defenders Awakened and Going Rogue. What do you all think about that? Or Going Rogue has it, right?
Yeah, Going Rogue has a thing, so we're definitely closely monitoring that, and something we're probably going to be bringing over to DDA. We just have to kind of figure out how to make sure it can be incorporated right, and then also just kind of the visuals of it,
right?
Like making sure it fits the art style, because DDGR is currently going through a complete UI overhaul over there, so.
Oh, yeah. I think that's actually what brought it up, now that I remember back.
Yeah.
People looking at Going Rogue versus DDA and saying, we want that here.
For sure. Yeah, no, it's definitely something that is high on the list for potential candidates to be brought over to DDA.
Okay, awesome. Okay, now next up, this is the biggest one, and I actually have taken this off the questions every week because I wanted to save it for the last question, or the last week. But every single week, this has been one of the largest things, and that is, when will the split screen couch co-op get here? Something people are very, very excited about.
Yeah, no, and this is something that we've seen, we've seen, obviously you've seen in your community, but we've seen just community at large, on Kickstarter, on Twitter, on pretty much any sort of social media we've seen this. So it is something that we are very aware of, that people are interested in. So currently, right now we're working on the session browser. You guys noticed that we've got it on, brought it back on Steam and on PlayStation as well. Happy to get that going. Our goal there is to get it going on all platforms. So Xbox would probably be next, and Switch would be coming in last there, as it kind of currently stands, barring some sort of thing that I'm not aware of. But after we get that taken care of, that's when we're going to start kind of investigating cross saves and split screen. And then we'll be able to give you kind of more of a definitive answer on that as we get a chance to look into that and investigate more.
Okay, yeah, it's definitely a hot item for sure, and something players are really looking forward to. Now, one of the things that has been kind of exciting through the development of Dungeon Defenders Awaken is the whole PTR setup. It gives people kind of a look into what's to come, and then at the same time, if a player chooses to, they can always jump in on the test server or test build and test the game out themselves and get their feedback in. Is this something that you all are happy with the outcome of, or will we see more PTR type builds in the future?
So yeah, definitely when it comes to the PTRs, we're really excited to do those moving forward. They were a huge success in the past. Gives players, the ability to test new things out, and then also give us feedback as well as find bugs in a much more controlled environment that allows us to kind of change things and tweak things without having major ramifications on the live game. So it's definitely something we'll be bringing back with any kind of major updates. There will be times where we might make small tweaks here and there that don't require PTR, but anything game changing will likely have a PTR before going live.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's I really enjoy that sort of thing. Of course, I play on all the consoles or all the platforms, so for me, bouncing over to Steam and doing the PTR only for a little while is not an issue, but I thought it was super fun being able to jump in. And I mean, let's be honest, when a developer tells a player, here, take this, go break it, I mean, it's just the most fun in the world, right? So it's enjoyable, and, you know, hopefully it gets you all some feedback that you need and some bug testing, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, we were really happy with the results of our PTR. Retrospect, everything's 2020 in retrospect. We'll avoid a lot of bugs, past bugs, game-breaking bugs, if we had a PTR set up. So we're quite happy with the results. So we'll continue that.
Awesome. That's awesome to hear for sure. Now, next up, we've got another one that's kind of we saw it in Going Rogue. We like it. We want it in DDA, and we want more. You know, it's one of those situations. But people kind of like the crosshair in Going Rogue, where it's more over the head instead of over the shoulder. Now, I'll be completely honest with you. For me personally, I didn't really feel a huge difference between the two. But a lot of people brought it up, and then that actually grew into, you know, if you had the option of overhead or over shoulder, could you maybe even possibly change shoulders, you know, or have some sort of a toggle where the crosshair, you could set it to however you like. Is that something that's a possible quality of life feature, or is that just a huge pain in the butt?
So I think, just to clarify, it's not the crosshair that changes in DDGR, it's the positioning of the camera. But that said, you know, it's definitely something that we're, you know, open to looking at. Currently, the setup on DDGR doesn't have a way to just swap between, you know, over the shoulder and the more centered camera positioning. So we'd have to look at maybe adding that functionality to make it a, you know, a gameplay setting that players can choose between. But, you know, it's definitely a possibility in the future.
Okay. You know, I didn't even think about that. The camera view, not the crosshair itself. That makes a lot of sense.
It's actually more than just the camera view. They also tweak the animations for DDGR to match that properly. So it's not as easy as like, oh, let's move the camera a little over. No, it's literally, they had to tweak the models, they had to tweak the animations. It was actually quite involved and took a lot of design time as well.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that's definitely some good insight. I didn't think of that at all when people started mentioning it about the camera view, but that definitely makes a lot of sense. Now, with you know, with the forum posts from early last month and some of the things that we know that could potentially be upcoming and changing, as far as the design or the future of Dungeon Defenders Awaken, is there going to be more polling or surveys with the player base? And if so, anything soon?
To the first part of that, absolutely. We've been very, very happy with the interaction that we've had with the community and the results of the survey, and just it kind of serves a lot of duties for us in the fact that we get to lean on some of the expertise of our community, a lot of which have been around for a long time, and also that gives us another access to get opinions from the community and better see what they're kind of seeing from their level. And then as far as the upcoming surveys, the next one will more than likely be like ideas to go with centered around like rifted enemies. And then also after that will probably be something centered around the outcast, trying to kind of bridge the gap with the summoner and what we can do, what the community wants to see, and then also bridging that gap with what we can actually do and that doesn't actually break the game. So that's kind of what we're looking forward in like the near to mid future. But yes, the everybody's been very happy with the internally and, as far as we can tell, externally with the survey process. So I would expect those to stick around for the foreseeable.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to give some feedback in a constructive manner where, you know, we know exactly what questions or what direction you all are looking for info of. So
well, and two, to kind of expand on that too, it's like whenever you see one person who has something good or bad to say on Twitter or on Facebook or in the Discord channel, you know, depending on when you see it, it only ends up being that one person or a couple of people. So this allows us to kind of see, is this a big issue that this one person's having that everybody's having, or is this an isolated thing that this person is just personally upset about or personally thinks great that, you know, may have, you know, different opinions. So it lets us kind of just gather more information, and so that we're not dealing with such a small subset of data.
Awesome. That's for sure. Now, on that same note, with the polling and surveys, the last forum post about the surveys was talking about potential changes to how rifted mode and gear farming will be changed or different in the future. Is there anything more you could tell us about that, or any directions that you think Chromatic would like to go in that regard with rifted mode and gear farming?
So I think when it comes to Rifted, there's a lot of things that we are currently looking at. But the biggest things that players have kind of not been exactly thrilled about is like how Rifted loot comes out of only the chests, and that it kind of, you know, invalidates the need for ground loot in general when you're only playing Rifted. And then, like, secondly, having fusion towers kind of makes all the other elements feel kind of unneeded anymore.
Right.
And so we're going to be looking at primarily those two things, trying to make the Rifted loot feel powerful and like useful to grind, but without invalidating like normal gear, because we still want people to have the freedom to, you know, go down a, you know, an elemental build with their like flame burst and go into a heavy fire damage build and kind of take advantage of that, and then work around, you know, the elemental resistances and all that going on. So a lot of that is stuff that we're going to be surveying when it comes to Rifted stuff, trying to figure out what the players want us to do and kind of giving them some potential routes we could go with it and seeing what best will work there. But that's probably as much as we have at the moment, but we're going to be looking at trying to get more feedback on that going forward.
Awesome. I think too, with like further down the road or when it makes it to the game, the addition of runes will probably be a pretty big incentive for people to take those paths as well.
For sure, yeah.
My cat is attacking me. Go away,
yeah, like
Blitz.
for sure, being able to have like runes tailored towards, you know, the fire, like fire elements, or just like having different like status effects or something along those lines. You know, the world's pretty open there.
Absolutely. Now this one, you know, obviously it's really thinking super long term, and you know, I mean, the future is yet to be written. But people want to know, is the thought there of there being a Dungeon Defenders 3 down the road?
Let me go ahead and pull up my crystal ball here and look into the future. No, like honestly, like right now we're so focused on our titles that we currently have that we have not looked at a DD3 or have any plans or are working on it or anything like that. So, like I said, our focus right now is on Dungeon Defenders 2, Dungeon Defenders Awakened, and DDGR. So that's where we're going to remain. You know, I'm not going to be able to tell you, like, no, there will never be a DD3, but it is, if there's a radar, it is nowhere near our radar currently.
Right. Well, I mean, that makes sense, you know. All right, now when Dungeon Defenders Awaken was first announced and it was, you know, listed on the Kickstarter, one of the things listed there is that the goal was to recapture the soul of the original Dungeon Defenders. And many players have actually expressed an interest in like a full DD1 remake, or like the possibility of getting Dungeon Defenders 1 on current gen consoles. You know, is that an enormous undertaking, or is that something that could possibly be a reality at some point in the future?
When it comes to updating DD1 to work on current gens, currently that is just a unimaginable mountain of work that would need to be done. We're talking, you know, complete overhauls to, gameplay systems and whatnot, big updates to our engine, because currently DD1 uses a extremely modified version of UE3. So there'd have to be a lot of updating there to even be able to get the SDKs that the platforms require to even submit a build onto the current gen platforms. So currently this is not something we're looking into, and it would take quite a long time
Be
for
just
even
an enormous amount of work, right?
yeah, for even like a dedicated team to do.
I mean, that's fair. It's, I think, we touched on it last week from the player perspective. It's, you hit the Xbox One button or you hit the Series X button. It's, obviously from our end, when you think of, oh, well, why can't they just add this to the, the Series X store or the Xbox One store or whatever, it's obviously a tremendous amount of work that would have to be done to try to make that happen. And, I mean, obviously it would be glorious. I think everyone would agree there, but probably not a reality for the immediate future anyway, then.
It would be a tremendous amount of work, especially with a multiplayer network game like ours. Once you get in the realm of, oh, it's online, you can play with people online, Microsoft and Sony requires you to integrate with their latest SDK, and that's a plumber's nightmare. Even for new games, it's a plumber's nightmare. A good example is, getting DDGR onto the consoles. We have to rework a lot of things because the SDKs from last year aren't the same as the SDKs this year, and all that has to be redone. And Epic helps, like their latest engines try to support the latest stuff, but even then, if you even off a few months, you oftentimes have to redo everything. We'll look into it. I mean, our options are open, always. And a lot of time what it takes is like a partner to help us, We're not a big studio, we're only about 30 people. But that could be a situation where someone approaches us and say, hey, we have extra resources we could help you with. And we'll be like, yes, that'd be awesome. And, once in a while, things like that happen.
Absolutely.
So yeah. So the answer to that is we're going to make friends and make more friends. And hopefully our friends will help us achieve awesome things.
Well, that sounds good. And then last but not least, we got people like the kind of the constant communication here this month and these Q&As that we've been doing. Is this something we could do in the future? Maybe obviously not on a weekly basis, but something like maybe monthly or quarterly or...
It's actually hilarious that you brought this up because we were having the exact same kind of thought. Is like these have gone over really well. I don't, like you said, I don't think we need to do them weekly. I think doing them weekly for this month was good to kind of catch people up on the process and where we are, and to kind of get some of those questions that have always been lingering there. Even though we can't necessarily give you timelines on everything, we've gotten everybody kind of caught up on this is where we are currently. So I think we've hit a lot of those questions, and I'm sure we'll get more of those as time comes and as things change. I guess I'm just kind of talking at this point, but yeah, I think we're doing them monthly would be fantastic. So this is something that we wanted to continue to do with you, and I think it's a very good match for all of us in this regard.
I think it was a big opportunity all the way around, and thank you all once again. But that
No problem.
That will do it for this one, though. So thanks again, everybody, for hanging out. We'll have more of this to come in the future. And I will see you next time around. Take it easy.